There's certain patterns to break.
And you think choosing bad partners is like a genetic thing?
I feel like I want to cry.
Why?
Just because it's like, it gives me anxiety. And I'm just like, it makes you really like analyze just like where you're at. And then I'm like, sometimes like, what am I doing?
So was taking his last name a given? Were you positive that was going to happen, or did you think about that for a while?
It was a given. Yeah, it was just a given. It wasn't a thought.
When did the affair with Kim Kardashian start? It started after the affair with Paris Hilton. Okay. Yeah, and
Here comes Paris again.
yeah, there comes Paris. And I had already got, like, mind you, in that club, I had gotten Paris Hilton's face, you know, like, well, when Oscar and I were having a conversation, she bibbity bopped in, and I was like, aren't you fucking this one here? Aren't you fucking this one? And she was like, I don't even know him. I'm like, yeah, you do. And so she leaves, and, you know, he and I continued arguing, Oscar and I left. So she and I had already had words like that night, and then, yeah, I don't know, he and I were arguing, and we kind of, like, separated, but we were still living in the same house.
Everyone thought this was the ultimate fairy tale romance. A whirlwind proposal on the beach, endless public displays of affection, a pregnancy reveal that felt straight out of a movie. Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian were supposed to be the unstoppable couple. The kind of love story people point to and say, that's what happiness looks like. But behind the glossy Instagram posts and carefully curated TV moments, a very different story has been unfolding. Whispers of betrayal, tensions between sisters, and cracks in the perfect family picture are starting to show. It's easy to forget that these aren't just celebrities on a screen. They're two people trying to make a relationship work under a microscope, with every argument, every rumor, and every old mistake dragged back into the spotlight. And for Travis and Kourtney, the spotlight is revealing more than anyone expected. Their marriage, which once seemed full of passion and unshakable chemistry, has been tested by resurfacing secrets from the past, complicated family dynamics, and questions about whether the love that burned so brightly can really last. So what really went wrong? Was it Travis's history that came back to haunt him? Kourtney's uneasy feelings about her sister Kim? Or the sheer pressure of keeping up appearances when the cameras never stop rolling? As we peel back the layers of this story, you'll see why fans are asking, is this just another Hollywood couple going through a rough patch? Or are we witnessing the slow unraveling of a relationship that once looked unbreakable? Because as picture-perfect as things seemed, the truth is always messier. And in this case, it's not just about love, it's about loyalty, power, and whether two people can really hold on to each other when the world is pulling them apart. When Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker first stepped into the spotlight together, it felt like a dream no one saw coming. For years, they had been friendly neighbors in Calabasas, the drummer with the larger-than-life persona, and the reality star known for her grounded personality. But when friendship turned into romance, the world couldn't look away. Things moved at lightning speed. Just a year into dating, Travis got down on one knee on a sun-kissed California beach, surrounded by roses and candles, asking Kourtney to marry him. It was the kind of proposal you'd expect from a romance film, and it instantly went viral. Fans called it magical. Headlines screamed that Kourtney had finally found her forever love. The whirlwind didn't stop there. Their families merged, seamlessly in a way no one expected. Kourtney's children and Travis's kids bonded quickly, almost as if they had been waiting for this moment all along. For once, a blended Hollywood family looked effortless. And then came the weddings. Yes, plural. From a lavish Vegas ceremony to a breathtaking Italian celebration, the couple turned every milestone into a spectacle. Every vow, every kiss, every photo felt designed to prove they were madly in love. The high point came when Kourtney announced she was expecting. Her glow was undeniable, and fans rushed to say she looked happier than she had in years. When their son Rocky was born in late 2023, it seemed like the love story had reached its perfect climax. To many, this was proof that soulmates exist. But fairy tales don't always hold up when the cameras turn off. Behind the roses, designer gowns, and viral Instagram posts, small cracks were already forming. And soon, those cracks would grow into headlines of their own. Because while everyone else was celebrating their picture-perfect union, Kourtney was starting to feel something different. The uneasy realization that the love story wasn't as flawless as it looked, no matter how perfect. Things look from the outside. The past has a way of creeping back in. For Kourtney and Travis, that past came wrapped in secrets, rumors, and uncomfortable truths that fans couldn't ignore. It all started with Travis's own words. In his memoir, long before he and Kourtney were ever a couple, he openly admitted to having a crush on none other than Kim Kardashian, Kourtney's younger sister. For most people, that detail might have been brushed off as harmless. But for Kourtney, it was like reopening an old wound, because it wasn't just a crush scribbled in a book. Travis's ex-wife, Shanna Moakler, claimed that his obsession with Kim had gone further, that he cheated on her with Kim years earlier. Travis flatly denied the affair, but he didn't shy away from admitting he found Kim attractive. And while that honesty may have been refreshing to some, for Kourtney, it planted seeds of doubt. Suddenly, family dinners weren't just about laughs and bonding. They were shadowed by whispers of betrayal, glances across the table, and memories Kourtney couldn't quite push away. It didn't help that these stories resurfaced right as she and Travis were trying to build a new life together. Fans began questioning whether the drummer's lingering admiration for Kim was stirring up the tension between the sisters. Was Travis unknowingly fueling the rivalry that had already split Kourtney and Kim apart in past seasons of The Kardashians? Even, Travis seemed frustrated by the constant speculation. In an interview, he called it ridiculous, saying he had shared parts of his past because he wanted to move forward. He insisted nothing inappropriate ever happened with Kim, just harmless conversations. But for Kourtney, hearing her husband publicly confess to once desiring her sister wasn't exactly the foundation of trust she wanted. And when you mix old accusations, family loyalty, and the never-ending Kardashian spotlight, even the strongest love story can start to look fragile. Because while the world saw roses and romance, behind closed doors, Kourtney was left wondering, if Travis could be this honest about Kim, what else was still hidden? For years, fans have watched the complicated dynamic between Kourtney and Kim Kardashian play out on screen. Sisters, businesswomen, rivals. Their relationship has always been a mix of deep love and fierce competition. But Travis's history added fuel to a fire that was already hard to control. The Hulu trailers for the Kardashians hinted at it. Those quick cuts, dramatic voiceovers, and lingering close-ups all teased that the tension between the sisters wasn't magically fixed. Sure, there were moments of reconciliation, like that emotional sit-down where Kourtney and Kim promised to move forward, but behind the glossy editing, the reality was far more complicated. Kourtney herself added layers to the drama. On Kim's birthday, she shared a sweet, heartfelt message that fans initially read as a peace offering, but only weeks later she turned heads when she dressed up as Kim for Halloween. Not in a subtle way, but in full-blown cosplay. Kourtney recreated Kim's iconic floral Met Gala look from 2013, complete with the slick ponytail and pregnant belly. The caption, "Freaky Friday." Was it playful sister humor or a jab disguised as a costume? The internet couldn't decide. Some saw it as a cheeky inside joke, proof that the sisters were finally laughing about their rocky history. Others believed it was shade, a reminder that Kourtney hadn't forgotten how Travis's crush on Kim once haunted their relationship. Either way, the move made headlines, and suddenly the spotlight shifted from Travis and Kourtney's romance to the never-ending Kardashian family drama. Because in this family, personal issues never stay private for long. They become part of the narrative, part of the show, and part of what keeps millions of viewers glued to their screens. And while fans debated whether Kourtney's costume was funny or petty, one thing became clear. The tension between the sisters was far from resolved. If anything, it was seeping into Kourtney's marriage, raising questions about whether Travis's presence was helping heal the family divide or making it worse. But the biggest cracks weren't between the sisters. They were in the marriage itself. And when you look closer at Travis's history, it's clear why Kourtney's trust was wearing thin. If there's one shadow Travis Barker has never been able to outrun, it's his reputation for being unfaithful, long before he ever exchanged vows with Kourtney. Travis had already built a history of relationships marked by turbulence, temptation, and betrayal. Take his marriage to Shanna Moakler. Even while raising their children together, Travis admitted he wasn't exactly the picture of loyalty. In interviews, he openly confessed to cheating. Not once, not twice, but with multiple women. At one point, Shanna claimed the number was as high as 13 at once. Whether exaggerated or not, the image stuck. Travis wasn't built for monogamy, and this wasn't an isolated slip-up. Even in his first marriage to Melissa Kennedy, Travis admitted to straying. For him, fidelity seemed less like a promise and more like a constant battle against impulses he wasn't ready to control. He often said he valued his independence, that settling down never felt natural. That kind of honesty might sound admirable, but for someone trying to build a stable future with him, it's unsettling. So when Travis stood by Kourtney's side, whispering promises of forever, skeptics weren't so quick to believe. And deep down, Kourtney knew this history too. Love may blind us to many things, but when your partner has publicly admitted to breaking vows before, it's impossible not to wonder if history might repeat itself. Fans began to speculate, was Travis really committed this time? Or was he just swept up in the Kardashian whirlwind? Every lingering look, every overly public kiss, every hand-holding moment started to feel less like romance and more like a performance. Was it love? Or was it another chapter in the Travis Barker show? And then came the bigger question, who really held the power in this relationship? Because as cracks started to show, people noticed that things between Kourtney and Travis didn't feel balanced anymore. At first, Kourtney and Travis's public displays of affection seemed like proof of a fiery romance. They couldn't keep their hands off each other, kissing on red carpets, cuddling at concerts, posting endless photos together. For fans, it was romantic, even enviable. But over time, those same gestures began to raise eyebrows. To some, the constant PDA didn't feel like love anymore. It felt like a performance, as if every kiss was more about convincing the world than connecting with each other. And beneath the surface, there was a growing sense that Travis wasn't just a partner. He was the one calling the shots. Sources close to the couple whispered that Kourtney had been changing herself to keep him happy. Everything from her style, choices to her diet seemed to shift in his direction. She swapped out clothes, adjusted her meals, and even tweaked parts of her lifestyle to fit what Travis preferred. What fans once praised as a glow-up started to look more like compromise. Or worse, surrender. Her family noticed too. According to insiders, some Kardashians worried that Kourtney was losing pieces of herself in the relationship. She wasn't the same confident, independent woman they'd known for years. Instead, she seemed to bend toward Travis's world, reshaping herself to match his expectations. Kim, in particular, reportedly believed that Travis was isolating Kourtney, pulling her away from the family and steering her life in directions that weren't entirely her own. For a while, Kourtney brushed off the concerns. She insisted she was simply in love, that she was evolving, not changing. But behind closed doors, the balance of power felt increasingly one-sided. Travis made decisions, Kourtney adapted. Travis set the tone, Kourtney followed. And while fans were still swooning over their steamy kisses on Instagram, those closest to them saw the cracks forming. The relationship that had started as a whirlwind romance was beginning to look like a tug-of-war over control. But the biggest test of all wasn't happening at home. It was about to play out on the other side of the world, under the blinding lights of a global tour. And that's when things took an even sharper turn. When Travis Barker hit the road with Blink-182 for their global tour, it should have been business as usual. But this time, he wasn't traveling alone. Kourtney decided to tag along, baby Rocky, in tow, determined to keep the family close even as Travis's career pulled him across the world. At first glance, it looked sweet. A rock star husband bringing his new family along for the ride, turning a hectic tour into a family adventure. But behind the smiles and fan photos, tension was building. Travis didn't look thrilled about the arrangement. Eyewitnesses noted that while Kourtney seemed glowing and excited, Travis carried a visible edge of irritation. Even as they posed for pictures with fans in Sydney, his body language screamed frustration. To some, it looked like he was trying to balance two lives, the rock star on stage and the family man backstage, and the balance wasn't working. Kourtney, meanwhile, went into overdrive. She clung to Travis, posting affectionate photos and doing everything she could to prove that their relationship was solid. But instead of pulling him closer, her efforts seemed to push him further away. What was supposed to be a bonding trip quickly became a source of strain. Valentine's Day highlighted just how fragile things had become. Instead of spending it together, Travis was in one city while Kourtney stayed behind in Sydney with the kids. Tabloids pounced, painting the image of a couple who couldn't even share the most romantic day of the year. Behind the headlines, the reality was even harsher. According to insiders, Kourtney was exhausted, juggling a newborn, entertaining her. Older kids, battling jet lag, and trying to keep Travis happy proved overwhelming. Friends revealed she was totally wiped out and leaning heavily on her inner circle just to get through each day. The fairy tale family tour was quickly unraveling into stress, distance, and disappointment. And if the physical separation wasn't enough, the emotional separation was becoming harder to ignore, because once the tour ended and the family returned home, an even more unusual arrangement came into focus, one that made fans question if Travis and Kourtney were even living like a married couple at all. When most couples tie the knot, the natural next step is moving under the same roof. But for Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker, things didn't exactly follow the traditional script. Despite the big weddings, the blended families, and the new baby, they still weren't living together full-time. Instead, Kourtney admitted that she and Travis kept separate households, literally just across the street from each other. On paper, it sounded practical. Their kids had grown up in their own homes, with their own rooms, their own routines. Uprooting them overnight could have caused chaos. To Kourtney, maintaining stability for the children mattered more than following what everyone else expected from a married couple. But when fans heard this, they weren't convinced it was about the kids. To them, it sounded like distance disguised as convenience, especially when Kourtney shared that she often ended up co-sleeping, not with Travis, but with her daughter Penelope. For many, this painted a picture of a marriage that was more about compromise than closeness. Kourtney insisted everything was fine. On a podcast, she explained that their arrangement was actually working well. They had family dinners every Sunday, all the kids together at Travis's house. They kept routines familiar, making sure their children felt safe and comfortable. "We're in the place where we're figuring out how to blend our households," she said, framing it as a thoughtful process rather than a red flag. But in the court of public opinion, the optics told another story. A couple who once couldn't bear to spend a moment apart was now choosing to sleep under different roofs. And when you combine that with rumors of control, exhaustion, and old wounds resurfacing, the fairy tale starts to sound like it's fraying at the edges. The question became unavoidable. Was this a sign of maturity or the quiet beginning of a fight? Separation? From the outside, Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker's relationship looked like the kind of love story people dream about. Whirlwind romance, fairy tale weddings, and a baby to complete the picture. But once you peel back the layers, it's clear things aren't as perfect as they seem. Old ghosts from Travis's past, like his confessions about Kim and his messy history with Fidelity, have left cracks in the trust. The constant tension between Kourtney and Kim only added more fuel to the fire, making family dinners and public appearances feel more like battles than bonding. Then there's the dynamic at home. What once looked like fiery passion started to look like control, with Kourtney reshaping her life to keep Travis happy. The Australian tour only magnified the problems, exposing exhaustion, distance, and a marriage strained under the weight of two very different worlds. And when fans learned the couple wasn't even living under the same roof, whispers of separation grew louder. So the question lingers. Are Kourtney and Travis just navigating the ups and downs of a high-pressure Hollywood marriage, or are we watching the slow unraveling of a love story that burned too bright, too fast? Only time will tell whether this couple finds their balance or goes down as another Kardashian romance that couldn't survive the spotlight. But now it's your turn. What do you think? Are Kourtney and Travis headed toward a breakup, or is this just another rough patch blown out of proportion by the media? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss the next twist in this story, make sure to hit subscribe, because when it comes to Hollywood's most talked about couples, the drama never really stops.